You're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day, or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. I'm your host, Graham Forsyth. Tonight's edition of the Prospect Show is brought to you by Caisse Financial Group, Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy, and TOVI Hockey. So the reason why my background is so different tonight is I'm actually upstairs right now in the Forsyth household. We are dealing with some COVID right now. My dad has it. He's been isolated in the basement. It's where I usually film my shows, but because of those circumstances, I'm filming up here. So I don't think the background looks too bad. I just wish I had my usual one that I use with the green screen, or even my original one that I didn't even use with the green screen. But I think that looks better than this, but just got to roll with it for the time being until my dad recovers. But also, for some reason, it's showing a lot of background in terms of not just my picture, but the background, the layout of the whole broadcast. So yeah, kind of strange why it's been like this. I don't know. Maybe it's the new kind of look StreamYard is given. But it's time now to talk about who is going to be in tonight's edition of the show. I'm going to have three people joining me. Two people joining me from MCN Sports Advising. The other player that is going to be joining me is going to be Parker Rondeau of the Swift Current Pure Chem Broncos U15 AAA team. But to get into the first guest, it's Matt Gorman, owner of MCN Sports Advising. He's going to come on the show to start things off as the first guest in tonight's episode to talk about the 2022 Western Canada Hockey Exposure Camp. He's going to be joining the show to talk to me about three players in particular that he's keeping an eye out for, as well as what this tournament is going to offer the players competing, how they'll handle the pressure, or how they should prepare to handle the pressure, as well as some other things as well. So sit back, relax, enjoy tonight's edition of the Prospect Show here on ASTV Productions. First up, with some 2022 Western Canada Hockey Exposure Camp talk with MCN Sports Advising owner Matt Gorman here on ASTV Productions on the Prospect Show on this Monday night.
Wow!
This edition of the Prospect Show is Mr. MCN himself, Matt Gorman. Matt, always great to connect with you here on the show. This week, we're talking about the 2022 Western Canada Hockey Exposure Camp. Ran into some schedule difficulties last week, so couldn't get you on the show, but excited to have you on the show tonight. How are you doing on this Monday night, man?
You know what, Graham? I'm doing really well. I spent the weekend in the rink, cold toes all weekend, and enjoyed some spring hockey in Edmonton at the Terwilliger Center, where lots of fun to watch those 2010s and, even 2013s just cruising around on the ice. So it was a good weekend.
Yeah, you got to see that young talent in full force out there this past weekend in Edmonton, which is great to hear. What's going to be exciting is this 2022 Western Canada Hockey Exposure Camp coming up May 6th to May 8th in Calgary, Alberta. There's a few kids that you recognize on this list, so let's get into that before we just get into the camp itself. Starting off with Jack Toogood, forward, 2007 born from Devon, Alberta. Played for the Northern Alberta Extreme U15 prep team this year. He's 5'10", 150 pounds, according to Elite Prospects. He has a right-handed shot. He had 13 goals, 13 assists, and 30 regular season games. Played with NAX this season for 26 points, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points in 4 playoff games. Talk about Jack Toogood. I know it's a kid that MCN represents. Talk about, what people should be expecting from him when watching Jack play.
I think with Jack, he He exhibits offensive skill, obviously, and in the way that he's put up the numbers this year. It was almost a point a game player, and just the way that he's competing in all areas of the ice. I think that in the defensive side, typically the guys that get some points and they put up some numbers, they tend to lack on the D side a little bit, and I can speak from experience because I don't think I blocked a shot or went in the RD zone very far over the years. But you know what, with Jack, he does pay attention to the D side of the game, and when he gets into the offensive, he's always in that position where the puck's either coming out to him or he's able to, pass it off to one of his line mates and set them up. So I think his vision, the way that he carries himself, he's pretty confident as far as his game. With that said, there's always room for improvements and learning from the game. And I think he'll be an exciting player for the people to watch and the scouts.
And, for this camp listed on their website, they give this message saying they're hosting this camp to give players an opportunity to play in front of scouts, coaches, and general managers from junior leagues in Western Canada and the United States. Of course, the WHL is a junior hockey league. Obviously, Too Good is going to be eligible for this year's draft with him being born in 07. So just with his playing style, what we should be expecting from him, depending on what his performance is like, could we be seeing his draft stock rise potentially if he does have a good performance in Calgary?
I think, Graham, every time that these kids step on the ice, they're demonstrating something, and they showcase themselves, and it maybe in that certain game or that certain situation where they're communicating off the face-off, for example, or maybe the way that they're skating has changed essentially from the first time that the potential team may have seen the player, and you can always go off of the attributes from each skate, and you can look at a player and go, you know what? Maybe he's in the realm of a potential pick, or maybe he's a player that is essentially for the team for the cap side of things, which isn't a terrible option either. To have the ability to be that free agent, and maybe he doesn't. For whatever reason, it's there's so many various perspectives on each player and what the teams are looking for from a player standpoint. Every time these kids step on the ice, it's an opportunity for them to demonstrate that they want it and that they love the game essentially, and willing to sacrifice, traveling a little bit to go to this camp, being from Edmonton area and traveling to Calgary. It definitely shows the love of the game for some of these kids.
Right. No doubt, making that commitment to, play the best game in the world, hockey. You got to love it, especially if you are hockey players as young as this, stepping into the good times in their hockey lifetimes, getting older, as Jack Too Good, a young 2007 born player from Devon, Alberta. Let's get into Dylan Dohaniuk now. He's a forward, 2007 born from Spruce Grove, Alberta, played for the Pack Saints U15 AAA team this year, but only played 4 games before we went on air. He told me that he was battling an injury this season. So for him, getting a chance to showcase his skills, prior to the WHL draft that is coming up shortly after the camp wraps up.
Yeah, you know what? It was unfortunate for his, U15 triples this year in Pack Saints organization out here in Spruce Grove. The young fellow just, the back, once you have a back injury, you really suffer in all aspects. There were times that he would try to skate and go for practice and have it a little bit easier. And then days later, it was he was in a situation where he wasn't able to skate any further. And when you're dealing with those types of injuries, it's not only the physical side, but it's a lot of the mental end of things too. For Dylan, I think missing out on the whole season, having the opportunity to come in here and hopefully he can, go back and feel the confidence that he had prior to the tryouts with the U15 Pack Saints, and feel his way through the camp structure and some of the body contact that he may be facing within that camp. Having some older players, to go through and have to compete against, it's going to be a real good test for Dylan. As far as the skating side and the work ethic and the vision of the game, I think Dylan could really show some really nice glimpses of puck moving and battling in the corners and just an overall compete again for Dylan. It'll be really interesting to see how that plays out for him, and hopefully he doesn't put too much pressure on himself to really be concerned about the overall idea, as opposed to paying attention to his body and just realizing that he's out there playing and having fun competing again without any aches or pains, hopefully.
Right, and you said you've had a chance to work with Dylan Dohaniak for about 2 years in the skill training side of things. I mean, just knowing Dylan, I mean, you talked about compete. Obviously, a kid that competes, as you alluded to. How huge do you think that's going to be in this exposure camp coming up, taking into account that he hasn't really had a chance to play any games this year except for the 4 that he played?
Well, you know what, and we speak of compete, and I think there's some different views on what people mean by the compete. And from my end of things, from my perspective anyways, it's really important to, look at where the kids are working hard, in the corners and sacrificing maybe to block a shot and seeing if he's willing to go in there and be that F1 guy that goes in and makes a hit to make the play, or maybe that extra little bit of a back check that would consist of some competing and just giving up the idea of the goal scoring side of things and working towards the betterment of that team that he may be playing on within this prospects program and this opportunity over the weekend, to showcase that he's willing to do what it takes to win with that team that's in that, situation for just a short time as far as the weekend competition.
Right. And it will be exciting to see Dylan Dohaniak get his chance to play again here in this 2022 portion of the hockey season coming up in Calgary from May 6th to May 8th. But let's talk about one more player. I didn't get him on my list here written down about the notes. He's a player that you added in at the last minute. I forgot to put him on the list here, Matt. There's one other player that you guys are aware of from MCN that is playing in this tournament. Give us some insight about who that player is and what he brings to the game.
So Devin Barclay's a player from Grand Prairie. He played the U15 triples. He's a big-sized defenseman that, he shoots the puck well. But again, he's one of those players that others don't like to play against. And I think that's an attribute that people forget in a lot of ways is the ability to control the mindsets of the other opposition that may be coming onto down your side as a defenseman. That you always had those players that you always thought about prior to the decision of going into the offensive zone. And I think, from Owen, it's Owen Barclay. I think I mentioned Devin there, but it's Owen. They're going to think twice just because of his size and his physicality and the way that he's not afraid to hit a player with his stick and obviously in a safe manner. It's not, out of control by any means, but he's one of those kids that just does a few things right as far as the compete side. He's a kid that wants to battle and be physical, and he'll stick up for his teammates. So I'm really interested to see how Owen competes in this prospects, especially against some of the older guys, because you do have some old fours in that skate as well.
Yeah, you mentioned size, and for me, when I'm looking at a hockey player personally, I'm like, size is obviously nice, but how can you use it? How have you noticed that? Owen has grown into his body this season, has used his body to the best of his abilities this season while he's played. What should we expect out of the, I guess, improved Owen Barkley as he has been as the season has gone along, if he has?
Well, you know what? I think the attention to his skating and his decisions on the stride that he takes, for example. So, especially for the defenseman to understand the individual areas as to when to use a C cut or to cross over. Those are really important factors when it comes into the skill side, and making that decision based on the attacker coming into your zone, and then guiding them into the areas that you want them to go to, as opposed to having them come into the middle of the ice. He's pushing them and separating them off into the corner and being able to contain the offensive player that's his. So I think that's something that he's really worked towards, and he still needs to continue to work on that, of course. But I think that from that standpoint, it's really complemented his game and the willingness. There's some players that that you can go down and they're very nice guys and they're just going to kind of let you go through. And then there's other players on the defensive side that you just know that you're going to take a little bit of a beating from them. I don't know if you remember the name Ryan Bast. He played for the Oilers years ago, right, and we called him Beast. And even in shinny hockey, you knew that Beast was going to stick you or make it tough on you. And I still love seeing Beast around, and we joke about those things, but it's an example of just, going through, and he's a great guy off the ice. I should mention that too as well, that he's a great guy off the ice. But when you're in a game and you're competing against Beast, it's the same as Owen. You're going to take a whack and you're going to have to fight your battles to get to the net.
Well, can't wait to watch that compete level from Owen Barkley when this tournament does come along on May 6th, starting then all the way up to May 8th. You can all catch it here on the network on our website at amateursports.tv when the time does come to watch this very exciting 2022 Western Canada Hockey Exposure Camp coverage on ASTV Productions. So, Matt, we're going to step into a commercial break now. We're going to throw it to a break, and then I'll be back with you to talk about more of the camp itself, what these players should be expecting going in, the opportunity this camp gives players, and some other things as well. I'm with Matt Gorman, owner of MCN Sports Advising, here on the show to talk about the 2022 Western Canada Hockey Exposure Camp here on the Prospect Show. We'll be back in just a moment here on ASTV. Welcome back to the Prospect Show. First guest on tonight's episode, Matt Gorman, talking about the 2022 Western Canada Hockey Exposure Camp. Matt, we were talking about some players that MCN Sports Advising represents at first here. Let's dive into the camp itself. As mentioned before, this is actually a camp that's put on by parents of hockey players. They host this camp to give players opportunity to play in front of scouts, coaches, and general managers from junior leagues in Western Canada and the United States. Their hope is that this camp will give players options to play at the highest level possible. So let's just dive into that, how this camp is such a great opportunity to give all players that are involved a potential opportunity to get to that next level, which is junior hockey.
Yeah, you know what? I think that anytime that you get an opportunity to go on the ice and showcase your abilities and learn, I think is one of the most important things to think about when it comes down to attending these types of camps, to learn the game from other players, because it's an opportunity to go in and you're on a new team, you've got new line mates, you have new defense, you have new goalies, you're just kind of intermingled as far as all around new players. And that really gives you an opportunity to show that you understand the game, understand how the game moves and in positions. And you may be playing with a guy that just is all over the place on the ice, and you have to be able to read where that individual is going, for example, and being able to demonstrate that to the scouts at the Western Hockey League, the junior A leagues, as far as the BCs and the junior Bs, and having that opportunity to go in there and just take advantage of the experience as to, comparing yourself and looking at other players, what they do well, and so many times we want to go and compare ourselves to other players and say, yeah, we're better, or we're this, but really looking at the things that the other players do well within a camp like that, and take that for your own knowledge and your own focus. You go on the ice, you're showing that you're a good teammate, and you're showing the scouts, and maybe it's your opportunity to just demonstrate the things that you didn't necessarily get to demonstrate when you're in a team atmosphere with your program, because maybe they were put in a situation from the coach that they were playing third or fourth line and they weren't getting the opportunities that other players on that team essentially might be getting. So, I think it's just fantastic. Anytime that you can get in front of a group of people that know some things about hockey, or have an opportunity to even speak to them and ask questions about their own game, I think it's really exciting for these young athletes.
Yeah, and that brings up a point that I was thinking about. Obviously, you want to have team success in anywhere you play, but for this being an exposure camp for the players, do you think that a focus of this tournament shouldn't be as much as about what team wins the most, but rather how the individual looks in those situations we've been talking about, competing out there, how they adapt to the team situation they're on, how they look in that type of environment?
Yeah, I think you're 100% right, Graham. It is a balance, and I always like to think that there's a mix between it. Obviously, you're out there and you got to play your role. You don't want to go too far off of that role. If you're a guy that's dependent on to score goals, or you think you're a goal scorer, then you need to do that. But you also need to focus on making the other guys better on the ice, and by communicating with them, talking with them, giving them a high five, demonstrating the leadership side of things. As much as it is an individual weekend, it's something that you can balance out, as far as maybe going in and you don't necessarily pass a puck when you're on a 2-1 situation, but you shoot it. And there's nothing wrong with shooting. Anybody that says shoot the puck is a wrong choice, man, they want to really take a look at it and think about those comments. And you shoot the puck, your teammate has an opportunity to go to the net. So when it comes down to it, you can look at it that way. As far as you're out there, you're demonstrating that you're ready for the next level. But at the same time, you want to demonstrate that you're a team guy too. Nobody cares for that guy that's just out there and he's running around and just kind of all about himself and not really talking to the other guys on the ice and pumping their tires a little bit.
Right.
And typically the guys that are the top players, they're confident enough to say, hey, nice job on that, or celebrate a goal that they didn't necessarily contribute to in the idea of an assist. Right. Those are behaviors that I think stand out, at least when I'm watching hockey. Body language, the way that they celebrate, the way that they're sitting in the bench, and just looking at a team. When you go on the ice and you have new players on your team, you always want to win. And we obviously, fun is number one, but nobody goes out there to lose. And if you're part of a winning team, you're going to be looked at as that guy that's contributing to it, even from the backup goalie side of things. Maybe the goalie only got 3 shots in the period that he played in, but in the case of this, he's contributed to the win of the gold team or the green team or however it looks.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be interesting to see how these teams perform as they are formed at this point, I do believe. But, talking about this, obviously you've been through so much in your time playing hockey, Matt. What would be your message to the players heading into a type of tournament like this, where there is going to be pressure, there's going to be scouts, coaches, and GMs from junior hockey teams there, but what can a player truly do to come in prepared to handle that type of pressure?
Well, I think right off the get-go is is reflecting on the things that you've done well as a hockey player. Starting to reflect on the things that you bring to a team. And it's really tough to do those things, because some players, they have different ideas of where they fit on a team. You have guys that think that they're going to score goals and they're the goal scorers, but they've had 3 goals for the season, and it's something that really, it's a lot of work to reflect on those and ask others where you fit into that mold of that team. And looking at all the positives that you've done up into that skate are really important. Whether you're a guy that's a glue guy that's, pumping other guys up or making an easy pass and then attacking, knowing where you come in and where you fit for the direction of your betterment. Lots of times the kids start to focus on the mistakes that they've made. And it's really important that they let it out. They let go of those ideas. If the pucks bounce off the wall and they weren't strong on the puck along the wall to get it out, then you know what? You got to let it go. So I really believe that preparation beforehand, going in with the mindset that this is what you're going to do, this is the thing that you're going to focus on, and how you're going to execute it when you're on the ice. Preparing for it just like any other game. You can go in front of 50 people or be ready for an 8,000 spectator game. It's all the same. Going in and thinking about, the positive outcomes that you might have and just having fun. Going in and really, I see that a lot. I talk about love of the game and fun, and it is fun when you're going in there and you're competing, but it has to be on the forefront. So much pressure is put on these young players, and it's important to put that somewhere into the energy of the success that you might have.
Yeah, and you're so right in that competing, in my opinion at least, is the funnest part of the sport. That's what makes the sports what it is. Having that compete level out there, having other players to push you to limits that, to break your limits out there that you thought, maybe you can reach the certain point that you could. I mean, that's just what's so beautiful about the sport. What's so beautiful about sports in general, and just, can't wait to see the high competition level that's going to come out in Calgary, Alberta, come May 6th to May 8th. But let's talk about this. I mean, not only will these players be competing with over 300 players in the camp, but there's going to be many players from many different age groups. We're talking 2003 born players all the way to the youngest 2007 born. How huge is that for these players to get that opportunity to not only compete against this type of talent that they're competing against, but against many different age groups out there?
Well, I think it's so valuable on both accounts. The older players, they come in our 203, the 2003, 2004s. They have an obligation to demonstrate the game at a high intensity, demonstrate the preparation, the leadership, the communication. At the same time, the younger players coming in, they have an obligation to learn from those older guys and watch their body languages and the way they carry themselves, the way they compete, the way they read the game, the way their stick areas are, all those little fundamentals when it comes down to, the year separations. They both can come in there with the idea of bettering themselves. From the older guys, it's a mentoring opportunity for them to show what it's about to be an older guy and what you've learned over the years. As you move through the ages and you get into the junior hockeys, you're dealing with a 3 to 4 year span of age gaps. As you get into the pros, you're dealing with sometimes 10 to 12 year old difference of age gaps in universities. So, when we put the kids together in that type of an environment, there's so many different things that will go through their minds, and it's exciting because it's just another pathway to their next level.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be so exciting. Like I keep saying, to see this tournament unfold, this hockey exposure camp, 2022 Western Canada Hockey Exposure Camp, held in Calgary, Alberta, from May 6th to May 8th here in this calendar year of 2022. Will be shown here on ASTV Productions on our website at amateursports.tv, the only place to watch this year's Western Canada Hockey Exposure Camp. But Matt Gorman, the man of MCN Sports Advising, joining the show on this Monday. Matt, thanks for coming on as always and being a guest on this show, the Prospect Show. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Thanks, Graham.
Matt Gorman, owner of MCN Sports Advising, joining the show here to talk about the 2022 Western Canada Hockey Exposure Camp that will be held in Calgary from May 6th to May 8th. You can catch all the coverage here on amateursports.tv. On our website will be the only place where you can watch it. You won't be able to watch it on Facebook or YouTube. But yeah, there's going to be over 300 players going at it. Stay tuned. Tune into the Prospect Show next Monday as we'll continue our 2022 Western Canada Hockey Exposure Camp coverage. But coming up next, I'm going to be sitting down with a hockey player from Swift Current, Saskatchewan, played for the Swift Current Chem Broncos U15 AA team in the Saskatchewan AA Hockey League. It's number 10 of that team, Parker Rondeau. He joins the show next to talk about his season with Swift Current, the road his team had to the finals, and what it was like playing in that final series where they lost to the Saskatoon Bandits, and some other things as well. After this next commercial break on the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions.
Welcome to Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy, your world-class academic and hockey training facility created to maximize each student's athletic and academic potential. Blackjack Stewart Arena, home of the Buffalo, is inside the 46,000 square foot complex, as well as a curling rink and other facilities. The students have a unique combination of successful, well-rounded education at Pilot-Mound Collegiate Institute and the professional hockey training in an encouraging community. The years of experience of on-ice coaching propel our students to the next level, both mentally and physically, in a professional environment.
Welcome back to the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. Joining me now is number 10 of the Swift Current Chem Broncos U15 AA team. It's Parker Rondeau. Parker, thanks for taking the time out of your Monday night for joining. The season is over at this point for you boys, but yeah, got to ask you, starting things off, how you feeling on this Monday?
I'm feeling good. Made it to the provincial finals, so
yeah,
it's up, I guess.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, a phenomenal season for not only you, but your team, making it all the way to the provincial finals. Obviously, not getting the result you guys wanted in the end, losing to the Saskatoon Bandits in 2 games, losing that final game of the season in game 2, 2-1 in double OT. But just take me through that final series, as well as the whole playoffs in general, the whole experience that it was for this Swift Current Chem Broncos team.
Well, the whole experience was amazing with my team. We had a really underdog team. No one really believed in us. And in the South final, it was a really nail-biter. And then we came out of that series in 3 games against Prairie Storm. And then the provincial final, it was a really good series, I guess. But they just had a really good team. But we still battled pretty hard.
Yeah, and for this team, you guys finished 25-4-1, 0-1 on the season, tied first with Prairie Storm in the South. But like you said, kind of odd to me since you guys were placed so high in the South. I mean, being tied with Prairie Storm, having that underdog mentality. Just talk about how that underdog mentality for you guys truly served this team in the end of things.
Well, there was no pressure on us, so all the pressure was on Prairie Storm making it to the finals. No pressure was on us, so it was just easier to get there because we didn't have any pressure on us.
That series against Prairie Storm ended up going 3 games, with the first game going the way it did, with you boys losing 5-1, to be able to pull out the next 2 games in extra time, most notably game 3, 4-3 in triple OT. I mean, to have that type of fight, to be able to fight back against a team like Prairie Storm in the series best of 3 to come away with the victory must have been something special.
Yeah, it was really special. the series before that, we were down in game 1 too. It's just we thought it was our thing to be down in game 1, so
Yeah.
all the way through.
Do you feel like that kind of helped you boys through in that series against Prairie Storm? Of course, like you mentioned, the series before against the Regina Aces, you boys ended up losing 4-0 in that first game. So just taking those experiences and putting them into that Prairie Storm series, is that something you felt that this team was able to do, take the same type of experiences from the series before and use it in that series against Prairie?
Yeah, well, against Prairie Storm, we lost to them a lot, I guess, in the Regina finals in a tournament. So we really wanted to beat them, and we wanted it more, and it showed on the ice. So our team did that. They did it well.
Tell me what it was like getting to play in the playoffs again. Of course, last season didn't end up happening due to COVID-19. So in that first series against Yorkton, stepping onto the ice in game 1, that must have been a special feeling, knowing it was something that you boys weren't able to experience the previous season.
Yeah, and it was just amazing playing a playoff season and a whole season, I guess. And just the crowd there was amazing. Haven't really had that in a while, so.
Go back into the final series now, of course, pulling off a lot of OT victories to get to the final, of course, 2 against Prairie Storm. Of course, losing that final game of the year 2-1 to the Bandits in double OT. Take me through what it was like this time around being on the losing side of things of that OT.
It wasn't really amazing losing, but we still had fun those 2 games. We still battled pretty hard, I guess, and our team wasn't disappointed. We were just, just shocked that we lost, I guess.
Talk about what the message was from the coaches after the dressing room, just to a team, like you said, underdogs weren't expected to beat a team like Prairie Storm to make it to where you boys ended up making it to the finals, one of the 2 final teams standing. I mean, I had to assume that the message in the dressing room was nothing but positives.
Yeah, well, in game 1, the coaches were a little frustrated because we couldn't beat those guys. But after game 2, it was just all positivity, just getting there, having a great season.
This final game, of course, it's in the rearview mirror at this point. For yourself, what's it been like, sitting back, reflecting on the finals against the Bandits and just the playoffs and the 2021-2022 season for yourself in general?
I didn't really perform that well in the Saskatoon Bandits. Probably could have put the puck in there a couple times. Their goalie played extremely well, and I thought I had a pretty good season overall.
Just going into that, obviously some fuel if you are able to get to a point where you boys are in the finals next year with whatever team you're playing on. Obviously, looking back at those moments against the Bandits and trying to make better on them, I feel like would that potentially be a goal for you going into next season?
Yeah, we need a – yeah, I guess so. The Bandits were a really good team, and we didn't really have a system against them, I guess. So if we play against them next time, it'll probably be different.
Well, outside of that series, I mean, you had a very good playoffs. I mean, you were tied 3rd for playoff points in the whole entire Saskatchewan AA Hockey League for the U15 age group. You put up 16 points, 7 goals, 9 assists in 10 playoff games. Obviously, you weren't a fan of how you played against the Bandits, but overall in the playoffs, you were generally happy with how you played. Just talk about what that was like for yourself, stepping up in those biggest moments when you needed to in the playoffs for your team.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome being a leader on that team, just like trying to get the boys going by leading by example, by showing on the ice and just helping my team win. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I saw from the videos that you sent me, you were wearing the C this season, the team captain. What was that like, being able to be named the leader of this team and to lead this group of young men?
It was awesome. I loved being a captain of this team. I really like a good group of guys, and it was lots of pressure, but I abstained that pressure, and it was just amazing to be a captain for that team.
In one of the videos that you sent me, one of the clips that will be shown later on in this episode, you ended up scoring I believe, the game winner in that series against Prairie Storm. Was that correct?
Yep, in overtime, triple overtime.
So in a huge game like that, biggest game of the season to that point, I mean, to step up in that biggest moment, just take me through that moment, the goal that you ended up scoring to send the Broncos to the finals.
Well, our D-man was playing forward at the time because one of our forwards are injured, and I yelled chip. he gave a really nice chip. I beat the defender, and all I wanted was the game to be over because it's like playing 2 games in one day. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to score and end it right there, and I did that.
Have you ever been a part of something like triple OT, like you said, almost playing 2 games in the same game?
No, that was actually my first time, so it was pretty tiring and fun, though.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I could imagine. I mean, to be able to come away with a victory in triple OT at the time must have been pretty special for this team, who ended up making it to the final. So, Parker, I exited myself out there prematurely. We're going to send it to a commercial break for a second time in this edition of the Prospect Show. I'll be right back with Parker Rondeau, number 10 captain of this year's Swift Current Chem Broncos U15 AAA team. You're watching the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. Stick around for more after the break. Welcome back to the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. Waiting for my guest right now, currently Parker Rondeau, to get back on the screen here. We got him back in the show now. Parker, great to have you back on the show. I've just been talking to Parker so far about just the playoffs that his team had. The Swift Current Chem Broncos making it all the way to the championship series, losing in 2 games to the Saskatoon Bandits. But for this team, as mentioned, 25-4-1, 0-1 this season. Tied first with Prairie Storm in the South, making it to the finals. Looking back on the schedule, this team won in many ways, whether that was maybe blowing out teams or winning close games. Just talk about how that helped out this team throughout the season and into the playoffs, having that experience of not only blowing teams out, like I said, but winning in those close games like you boys did down the stretch in the playoffs.
Well, it just gave us a boost of confidence, beating all those weaker teams and even beating the stronger teams. It just made us be ready for playoffs, and we had just a lot of confidence going into playoffs.
Talk about, obviously, things like that, like you alluded to, like you said, help out this team, but have success. But talk about, what you thought when it came down to it was the biggest keys to this team's success this season, why you boys were able to be, on par in terms of the standings with a team like Prairie Storm and making it all the way to the finals.
Well, we weren't the most skilled team, that's for sure. What we needed to win was hard work, and every game we brought that. And if we didn't work hard, then we wouldn't win. So that helped us a lot.
Well, for yourself, you were this team's offensive leader, led the team in points. You were 4th in the whole league in goals with 42 goals. You had 26 assists, 68 points in 31 games played. Thing that stands out is the goals right there. Of course, 4th ranked in the league in goals. Talk about your shot, the strengths that brings for you out there on the ice.
Oh, well, my shot's not the hardest, but it's really accurate. I can put it in any corner, and that really helps me. But I'm still improving my shot, so it'll get better soon.
From the clips you sent me on one of the goals you scored, on both of them actually, you used the other team as a screen, the players on the other team. Talk about that, just getting creative when you do shoot. Of course, like you said, not having the hardest shot, but an accurate shot. Just talk about how that creates even more danger with your shot when you're able to use the other team as kind of a, as a screen out there.
Well, when I'm using the D-man as a screen, then the goalie can't really see where the puck's going. And if I have an accurate shot, the goalie doesn't know where it's going. So it really helps when the D-men are screening.
Talk about yourself as a skater out there. Is that something that you feel like you've made improvements on as your time playing hockey has gone along, or is that something that's always been a strong suit in your game?
That's always been a strong suit in my game. I've always been pretty fast, I guess. Always been a hard worker, and my skating really helps me do that.
Obviously, to play at this level, got to have good hockey IQ, right? Speak about your hockey IQ and how it helps you out there on the ice.
Well, I just use all my teammates. I know where guys are. It's easier if they use communication, and we talk about it on the bench to use communication and just set up plays on face-offs and just know where each other is, and it just helps us.
Talk about the line you were playing on this season. Who those guys were. Did it change throughout the season quite a bit? Was it something that was pretty set as the season went along?
I mostly played with Jace Egeland on the right wing and Wesley Olsen on centerman. We were probably one of the most deep lines in the whole league, so that really helped. Jace had a really physical appearance to his game, nice shot, could score and could pass. Wesley was like a good two-way player, so it kind of matched our games or whatever, put them together. So it was nice.
Right. And I haven't asked you what type of player you are out there. Obviously, you got the shot, like you said, you got the IQ as well as skating out there too. But would you say that I'm going to take a wild guess here? Your game is, I guess, that sniper type of game?
Yeah, I would say more of a kind of a two-way player, I guess, and a scorer, I guess. Yeah.
Nice. And obviously, defense as important as offense out there, arguably, well, I would say actually more important. Talk about your defensive game this season, how you felt that it, progressed as the season went along.
I think it improved a lot. I didn't really use my body that much, but I could take pucks away from people's sticks, just lift them up, quickly take them away, and then I knew I read plays like a book, so it was pretty easy to play defense, and it just really helped me do that.
Your ability to, draw defenders in and be able to make moves on them, as well as protecting the puck in, tight spaces, was something that stood out to me as well. Talk about, that aspect of the game, that creativity aspect that you have with your stick handling ability.
Yeah, I work on it a lot. I really like doing those spin moves in the corners, and it really tricks the defenseman on where to go. So it makes more room for me, and I can just know where to put pucks through when the D-men are not really looking when I'm spinning away. So
what's something that you felt you improved on quite a bit this season that maybe in past years, while you were playing out there, maybe wasn't as strong as it was this season, this time around?
I thought I improved on my leadership this year, I think. My coaches really helped me be a better leader. They really taught me stuff. And probably being a better passer, too. We learned about that, too. So
dive into that. Being a better leader, in which ways did you feel that your coaches, help get the best leadership out of Parker Rondeau this year for this pure Chem Broncos team?
by leading by example, I still talk a lot. I try to get the boys going. It might not work sometimes, so they should tell me to do it on the ice, so that'll get the boys going sometimes. And just sometimes when I do normally what I don't do on the ice, it really gets the boys going.
Well, the old saying goes, and I think it probably applied this year for you, actions speak louder than words, and your actions on the ice definitely did do this team wonders, as you were a huge part of why this team had the type of success that they did. But for yourself, obviously, in the springtime coming up, you'll be eligible for the WHL draft. Of course, the offseason is ahead as well. And then before we know it, we'll be back in fall and, starting up another hockey season. But what's the mentality for you now with the season over? What's your plans ahead, knowing that big event coming up this spring with the WHL draft?
Well, I would really like to get drafted. I just need to put the work in first. I need to train more. Probably I'm going on lots of ice sessions, so that will help.
Right on. Are you going to be going in any, exposure camps coming up? I know you're not on the list for the exposure camp that's going to be happening in Calgary that we'll be covering, but are you looking to go into any camps before the WHL draft to get yourself ready?
I was going to the Swift Current Legionnaire camp this year at the end of April, and I was supposed to go to this Prime Hockey Expo, but my season just ended and I kind of needed a little break.
Right on. What's going to be the mentality for yourself, heading into the WHL draft? Obviously, like you said, high hopes to be drafted. Anything can happen, but have you had kind of like people working with you, like advisors, to help you through the process?
Yeah, my agent Jerry, he's been really well this year. He's been helping me improve too as a better person and a better player. So he's really helped me.
Yeah, right on. And so huge to be able to have him taking care of all the stuff like talking to teams and just letting you focus and play the sport. For any WHL teams watching that you feel should take a chance on you, should draft you, what type of player and individual will they truly be getting out of Parker Rondeau?
Starting with an individual, I'm a caring person who is pretty kind all the time. I'm usually always in a good mood and always pretty goofy. And then what kind of a player? I'd be like a two-way player who can get you goals, get you assists, can do it all. So
Right on. Well, definitely something that teams want is that player that can do multiple things, and you've definitely shown that you've been able to do more than a few things out there, but multiple different things that make you a dangerous player out there on the ice. Is there a team in particular? Of course, any team that drafts you, you'd be happy to play for them, but one team in particular, you feel like that would be pretty cool to go to them?
I would like to get drafted at every team, I guess, or like any team. But I would like to go to Portland because my friend got drafted there too, so it'd be kind of nice. We're really close buddies, so it would be kind of nice to go there.
Oh, right on. Who was that?
Hudson Darby plays for the Swift Current Legionnaires.
Oh, right on, right on. It'd be awesome for you and Hudson to reunite. Did you have a favorite WHL team? I mean, I guess you are still growing up, but growing up, did you have a WHL team that you enjoyed watching the most? Or I got asked this question: have you grown up watching the WHL?
Yeah, the Swift Current Broncos. Obviously, I've been a really huge fan of them. I go to lots of their games. When they made it to the WHL finals or like the Memorial Cup, I went to the final game there to win the WHL. So it was kind of cool watching your team that you grow up watching to make it that far.
Yeah, that would be awesome if, potentially there could be a chance that maybe Swift Current drafts you with you being from Swift Current. I mean, would that be a dream come true for you? Obviously, you'd be happy to play for any team, but to play for your hometown in Swift Current, if that did become the case?
Yeah, that would be amazing. Just to live with my family too. All my family lives in Swift, so it would be really nice. And yeah, I guess growing up watching Swift Current, it would be awesome to wear that jersey still. So,
Well, you got a bit of time before the WHL draft hits. I want to wish you the best of luck in that, Parker. Obviously, if you don't end up getting drafted, that won't be the end of the road for you in hockey because you are quite a talent. But I got to ask you this before I do actually let you go here. What's one thing that you feel like you need to continue to improve on your game heading forward here, going into the offseason, getting ready for next year?
probably getting stronger and using my body more. If I can use my body more, it'd probably be easier to knock people off the puck and create more opportunities for myself.
Well, we'll wait and see what 2022-2023 the season there brings for Parker Rondeau. But for you, Parker, I mean, you had a heck of a season, 68 points in 31 games played, led your team in playoff points, and ended up having a chance to play in the provincial finals, coming up short against Saskatoon. But, on to bigger and better things now as Parker Rondeau, number 10 of this year's Swift Current Chem Broncos U15 AAA team. Parker, thanks for taking the time, and you take care, man.
Thank you. You too.
And you'll be seen coming up later, in addition of player breakdown to end off the show. I didn't put it into the description, but that's what we will be ending off on tonight's edition of the Prospect Show here on ASTV Productions. So coming up next here on the show, I'm going to be joined by a hockey player from MCN Sports Advising on this week's edition of the MCN Sports Advising segment. It is, I'll get his pronunciation on his name in when he does come on, but Ayaan Vira of the Okotoks Oilers U15 AAA team in the Alberta Elite Hockey League. He'll be joining the show next to talk about his season with the Okotoks Oilers team this season, as well as talking about what it's been like moving to Canada to play hockey, as he is from Coral Springs in Florida. That's coming up next on this edition of the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. And welcome back to the Prospect Show here on ASTV Productions. Just coming back, interviewed Parker Rondeau lastly here on the show, well, most recently. Waiting for my next guest on this episode, Ayaan Vira of the Okotoks Oilers U15 AAA team in the Alberta Elite Hockey League. It's going to be fun to have him on the show on this week's edition of the MCN Sports Advising segment. Coming up to end tonight's episode, I am going to be doing an additional player breakdown. Stay tuned for that as I break down the game of Parker Rondeau. If you are watching this edition of the Prospect Show on our Facebook, be sure to like it and share it. Get these great athletes the recognition they deserve. If you are watching on our website on amateursports.tv with our new media player, you can now rewind live broadcasts. So if you did miss something that you want to watch now on the Prospect Show, maybe you don't want to tune into this next interview, but missed an interview that you really wanted to watch on this week's edition of the show, well, you can now rewind during our live broadcasts. And yeah, it's pretty cool. So check that out on our new media player on amateursports.tv. But joining the show now is Ayaan Vira. Now, I gotta get this out of the way. How do you truly pronounce your name? Because I don't want to be butchering it all episode long.
Well, it's pronounced Ayaan.
Ayaan. Okay.
Yeah.
Ayaan. There we go.
Thank you.
Ayaan Vira. That's how you pronounce it?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. There we go. There we go. So we got that out of the way. It's great to have you on the show here, Ayaan, on the MCN Sports Advising segment. You're from Coral Springs, Florida, coming over to Canada, obviously, to play for the Okotoks Oilers U15 AAA team. Talk about how that came to be, from Coral Springs, Florida, all the way to playing in the Alberta Elite Hockey League.
Well, my parents were living in Florida, and I was born there. And then, obviously, there was a recession going on at the time, so they decided to move to Canada. It's much safer. So then we settled there, found a house in Auburn Bay, grew up playing for the Bow Valley Flames, and then these last couple of years I've been playing for the Okotoks Oilers.
Oh, right on. Quite a journey. What's it been like, coming to Canada, being able to play for Okotoks this season?
Well, it's honestly truly an honor. The team that I had this year was a great bunch of guys. We had a great one for the playoffs. We finished second in provincials, and honestly, it was the best year of hockey I've had.
Well, you certainly made quite an impact for your team, being over a point per game player, 37 points in 32 regular season games played. You ended up leading your team in points. You were you put up 37 points in 32 games played. I mean, talk about that. Putting up 14 goals, 23 assists to have that type of impact that you did this season with your team.
Well, it's just going to the rink every day, having the good mindset of bringing what you can do to each and every time I step on the ice, doing what you do best, helping the team out every shift.
For you, like you said, you had a chance to experience with this team making it to the provincial finals. I mean, take me through that ride, that whole experience of being able to do what you boys did this season.
Well, it was quite the experience. Well, it was the first time I've ever made it to provincial, so I was really, really excited when we drove up to Fort Sask and just into provincials. Our team got hot right off the beginning, lost the first game, and then after that we started heating up pretty quick. Won the next game after that, and we won 4 in a row to get to the finals. And in the finals, you faced a good St. Albert team. Their goaltending was stellar. It was a good game back and forth. They got the better end of it, and they won 5-1.
Yeah, and looking at the stats, I mean, that was the number 1 team in the whole league, North Division, South Division combined. You boys falling short, but going up against a very good St. Albert Sabres team, like you said. But for this team this season, 168 goals in the regular season, 88 goals against. Obviously, this team getting hot at the right time, winning 4 in a row in provincials, like you said, to get to the finals. Just talk about what you felt made this team so dangerous in those biggest moments in the playoffs to knock off the teams to make it to the finals in the provincials.
Well, everyone did their job from first line to fourth line, from our starting to our backup goalie. Everyone did their job. Everyone gave 100%, and went out every single game, and we won. So it was awesome. Our coaching staff was really supportive. They helped push us, and we had that mentality that just we go in there, work our butts off, and we get rewarded for it.
For yourself, what was it like for you personally competing in the provincials and the type of environment, the type of atmosphere that was brought out there in those, high intensity moments?
Well, it's exciting, right? I mean, to be in that moment where it's a tied game, going into the last minute of play, you want to be the guy on the ice, right? And it's really intense. It's awesome. It's a type of situations you want to be in.
For yourself, like mentioned, 37 points in the regular season and 32 games played. You also put up some numbers in the playoffs as well. But just speak about, what type of player you are out there. Are you more of that playmaker as you had more assists than goals, or are you a two-way player? Who exactly is Ayaan Vira out there on the ice?
Well, I have very good offensive skills. I'm very good contributing in the offensive zone. My line is a great line. We all contribute offensively, and I bring a great factor to that line. Defensively, I'm very good breaking out. I feel that my shot is one of the strong parts of my game. Also, I can see the ice really well, which is really good. Passing to my teammates, playmaking, and all that great stuff.
Yeah, and just for your shot, obviously, with 14 goals in the regular season, you spoke to it as being one of the strong points of your game. Is that something you work on continuously throughout the season, throughout the off season?
Oh yes, constantly I'm in my garage practicing shots, stick handling with the ball. I'd say about 4 or 5 times a week. I'm always in there. It's my favorite place besides the rink.
Yeah, and having that place to train at, having a place that's special to you, obviously, it's huge for the development of any hockey player when you're able to have that space to work on your skills, which is great that you're able to have that. Obviously, you put up more assists than goals this season, 23 assists in 32 games played. Like you said, you feel like you show some good offensive skills out there. Speak to that, with the assists, is that just playing to your hockey IQ, with you locating your teammates in the right places? Speak on that.
Well, my coaching staff has told me that when when I practice, when I play, I make everyone around myself better, and I feel like that's what I did this season. I helped my line mates become better overall. Like at the start of the season, we were all kind of just getting together, trying to build some chemistry, and by the end of the season, we were clicking perfectly. And just seeing the ice, moving the puck together, it's just we helped each other out and we executed well and got many goals.
Do you feel like that was another big part of this team's success with just how tight everybody was with the chemistry like you spoke about on the ice? Do you feel like that was a consistent factor throughout the lineup with the lines out there, forwards and defensively being in sync?
Oh, yes. This year we were a family, and I'm very lucky to have the group of boys that I had this year. We connected very well throughout all the tournaments, all the team bonding experiences. I felt that this is a year that I will never forget.
For yourself, when you're speaking about what type of player you were, you talk about how you feel like you're good in the defensive zone. Talk about this season, how that was for yourself playing in the defensive zone with this team.
Well, I was said to be the most defensive guy on my line, so I would stay back. I'd help break out the zone and help the defense out. It also helped because our line was very high in the plus. We were, I think, plus 20, 30s. So we did really well. We didn't have many goals against. And I feel that our whole line, and especially myself, we were very good defensively.
Yeah. That's great to hear, being able to not only get it done on the offensive side of things, but the defensive side of things as well. For yourself, last question before, or one of the last questions before we take it to another commercial break. Just speak about, something that you felt in your game this season improved that might have not been as strong as in other years.
Well, every year I just keep improving strength, speed, help, like just practicing my shot, everything. I just felt like this year, over the off season and during the season, I made a big improvement throughout the year, and I was a way different person on the ice than last year.
Would you say that also just speaks to the maturity that you bring out there to the team as well?
Yes, I feel that the way that I improved this season, it helps perform on the ice and bring everything that I can to the team every day.
Well, what is one thing that you feel like you're going to need to continue to improve on as things do go along here, heading into the next season to get ready for another year of high competition?
Well, just during the off season, just training, getting bigger, faster, and stronger in all aspects of the game, defensively and offensively.
Seems to always be that go-to, and it does bring improvement into a player's game, obviously, if you are able to get bigger, faster, and stronger. Ayaan, we're going to go to another commercial break here in the show. I'll be back with you on this edition of the MCN Sports Advising segment to talk about your time with MCN Sports Advising. You're watching the Prospect Show here on ASTV Productions. Stick around for more after the commercial break.
Why go solar? Solar is better than ever. Our revolutionary design and inverter equipment with the latest in solar panel technology for the ultimate in-home and business security. That's right, I said security. Grid security and security of your home are linked. Fortify your future today with a battery backup system. No maintenance, quiet running. Did you know in Manitoba, grid-connected, off-grid, and battery backup systems are 100% right off in the year you purchase for any company or farm? Do you want to back up your internet, keep your tills running, and the lights on? We can install a system that is right for you with battery backup fully capable of taking on all those essential loads and keeping you running. When you call our experts at Evolve Green, ask about getting your free energy audit today. Call or email today to find out what system works best for you. 1-866 5EVOLVE or support@evolvegreen.ca. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.evolvegreen.ca.
Welcome back to the Prospect Show, this week's edition of the MCN Sports Advising segment with Ayaan Vira of the Okotoks Oilers U15 AAA team in the Alberta Elite Hockey League. His team making it to the provincial finals this season and having a very strong season for himself with 37 points in 32 games played. Let's go into your time with MCN Sports Advising now. I got to ask you first, right off the bat here about this. How long has it been with you since you've joined MCN Sports Advising?
Well, it's been a couple weeks now since we had that Zoom call, the first introduction, and then I signed with them.
So it's been pretty recent since you've joined MCN. What led up to that with you making this decision to roll with MCN as this company to advise you throughout your hockey journey here?
Well, they were very supportive throughout the whole process. And also during the Zoom call, I felt like they were going to help me reach my goals that I wanted to reach in the future, whether it's the long-term goal, obviously playing in the NHL, of course,
right,
and just getting to the goals. I feel like they're going to help me and they're very supportive.
Could you dive into, maybe some of the specifics that they dove into you about in those conversations of how they're looking to help you reach those goals?
Mm-hmm. So just giving me feedback on what I need to work on so that I can come to like next camp all prepared and, based on what they've seen of what I can do. And also they also support me on upcoming camps, so what I need to do in order to perform and stand out, and it's helped me a lot.
What was that like in that first Zoom meeting, like you said, about 2 weeks ago now, just meeting Matt Gorman and whoever else might have been on the Zoom call?
Well, I met with Matt and Rob Zernecki, so I just talking with them, I had a really, really good feeling about how it was going, and I just right off the bat, obviously I had a really good feeling and they were really supportive. They told me like how they're going to help me reach my goals. And like, I felt that they're going to help me reach my goals, and I loved it. And a few days later, we signed with them, and I felt like it was an awesome decision that I made.
How cool was that experience? Signing a piece of paper, just to get ready to, continue to improve, continue to develop in different ways with this advising company at MCN Sports Advising.
Well, yeah, it was really cool, and just it's all part of the process, and just enjoying it is the best part. And I just going through everything, it's awesome. Just to be the main guy in my story. So
right,
honestly, just MCN is great at sports advising, and I'm glad to be part of there. Glad to be with them.
What were your first thoughts on Matt Gorman and your excitement of getting to work with him, a guy that's been through a lot of experiences in his time playing hockey?
Well, it's an honor. I mean, when I first got the introduction to him, I felt that he's the right guy, and with him, he can help me get to my goal. And with MCN and Matt Gorman, they are going to help me, and they're going to help me improve to be a better player off the ice and on the ice.
How excited are you to get started with the training that MCN has? Of course, MCN helping out players, on the ice. They also have their own training facilities as well. What excites you the most about the possibilities you're going to have training with MCN Sports Advising as things go along here?
Well, yeah, it is very exciting. I can't wait to get started.
What about the education side of things? I'm sure you and Matt and anyone else in the conversation, along with the other person that was there, did you guys have a chance to speak about the education side of things?
Yeah, we talked about how important education is in everyday life, and how my grades have to be up, and so far I'm keeping them up, which is really good. I'm studying hard, keeping my grades up, working hard in school, and so they just talk to me how important it is in life, and how if I want to go either route at WHL or NCAA, that it's very important to be educated.
Yeah, no doubt. Education obviously comes first, and it's always going to be the thing that you can fall back on, because you never know when it could be your last shift out there. That's just the reality of the situation, unfortunately, for some. But in terms of the mentor side of things, obviously for you going through a lot of stuff here coming up in your hockey career, trying to get to the highest level possible, it's going to be huge to have a mentor by your side, I assume, that has been through it. How excited are you to have Matt Gorman and his team along by your side as mentors?
Well, of course, I'm really excited. I mean, this is this is all new to me, so I'm just soaking it in, and I'm really excited to be working with them. I'm excited of what's going to come up in the future, what's going to come up this summer, and I feel like it's going to be great working with them.
Well, I would ask you the question: why would you recommend MCN to viewers at home? But it's only been 2 weeks for you, so maybe that'll be a question that I can ask you further on, further along down the road here, Ayaan. But Ayaan, it's been great getting to talk with you. Great that you've been enjoying your short experience so far and are looking to continue it with MCN Sports Advising. Congratulations on your successful season, along with you and the rest of your teammates. Until next time, and until the future, when we potentially talk next, Ayaan, you take care.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course, you take care. And that was Ayaan Vira. A bit of a hard name for me to pronounce, but I think I did a pretty good job of pronouncing it. One of the newest additions of the MCN Sports Advising family, joining the Prospect Show here on this Monday night. So it's time now to take one more commercial break here in the show. And when we come back, I will be breaking down the game of Parker Rondeau, number 10 of the Swift Current Broncos, or the Swift Current Pure Chem Broncos in the Saskatchewan AA Hockey League. You're watching the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. Stick around for more after this commercial break. Welcome back to the Prospect Show, everybody. It is 9:18 here, Central Daylight Time here on this Monday night. I want to thank everyone who has tuned in for tuning into tonight's edition of the Prospect Show. Had Matt Gorman, owner of MCN Sports Advising, on to start off the show to talk about the 2022 Western Canada Hockey Exposure Camp, as well as I had Parker Rondeau on as well. Forward, 2007 born forward for the Swift Current Pure Chem Broncos. And also I had Ayaan Vira on of the Okotoks Oilers, number 10 forward for them. He was on the show most recently. Special thanks to all three of those guys for coming on tonight's edition of the Prospect Show. Special thanks to everyone that's been tuning in to this point. And yeah, excited to talk about this next thing coming up. It's the return of this segment. Trying to get my notes to load as well, but nothing is loading. We'll see here now. Yes, they finally did load. So that being said, it is time now for this week's edition of Player Breakdown, a segment where I break down the game footage that I might get sent from a player, a guest that I have on the given week of when this episode is airing. And I had two players on tonight's edition of the show. The player I'm going to be breaking down on the 12th installment of this segment is Parker Rondeau, number 10 forward for the Swift Current Pure Chem Broncos U15 AA team. a sensational season for Parker. 42 goals, 26 assists, and 31 regular season games played. He had some nice totals in the playoffs as well. 7 goals, 9 assists for 16 points in the 10 playoff games that he played. He's a very creative player, a player that looks like he's a confident skater out there. He's good with the puck, and of course, he is a fantastic shooter. Like he said, not the hardest shot, but a very accurate shot, and a shooter that looks for creative ways to get that shot on net. So we're going to dive into it now, folks. Sit back, relax, and enjoy these clips I'm going to run you through and break down here on tonight's edition of the Prospect Show. And just speaking about the creativity, I mean, in terms of his goal scoring ability, 42 goals this regular season for him, 7 in the postseason, and not too sure when this is from exactly, but we're going to play it back. It is from a tournament, as we can see here. I'll actually take off the overlay for you guys to see. So this first goal was from the Western Canadian Crown tournament on hnlive.ca. That is where this is taken from. It's actually taken from their TikTok account. And watch this from Parker Rondeau. Just a sensational finish to this goal. Now, I will say I'm not really a fan of the team's effort on this 4-on-4, the Delta Hockey Academy. They're not really moving the fastest. It kind of seems like they don't really think anything urgent is happening. But here's Parker Rondeau with the puck, number 10. He's going to start skating with it. Look how much speed, how much time and space that Parker has out here. And with the player with his skill set, don't want to give him that. But Parker looks here, he knows that the middle, like if he is able to beat this defenseman here that he is coming down on, he'll have a good opportunity to make some good things happen. So he's going to look to attack the middle, but before that, he's going to eliminate this defenseman. So he has the puck on his forehand. He's a left-handed shooter. He's going to take it to his left side and draw this player into him a bit. The player follows him, and Parker sees that he has some exposed weaknesses, like he can slide it under his stick, which Parker will be doing exactly that. Waits for the defenseman to come over to him just a bit more here, and Parker able to slide it under his stick. Puck protection, and look at that. And as you can see, he does the between the legs shot. Beautiful by Parker. And what he does is he waits here. Not sure if it was intentional, but uses this player as a bit of a screen, sees this side of the net exposed, the blocker side on the goaltender, and puts it in. The creativity there on full display from Parker Rondeau. And it's so nice that you're going to see it twice here. There's the team captain himself. Look at that, getting the puck into a protected area, open space, through a screen, shooting through the legs. Here's here's Parker Rondeau making the other team look silly. And this is just his confidence as a skater. Carries the puck with confidence, good change of direction, good lateral movement, and good edges all on full display here. Sees the open space, takes it. Nice puck protection in tight, able to take that to the net and put it in on the goaltender. You're talking about using players as screens, as I've been talking about, where, well, here's what Parker does here. So again, good attack on the defense. He's going to drag this in, use the defense as a screen, and put it into the net. But then you're talking about the speed, and Parker alluded to that himself. Just the type of speed that he has out there as a player. Well, it's on full display here. This was from the triple OT. Look at here, the chip into the zone. Parker chases it down, attacks the net, slides it in with a backhand deke. And look at that celebration, as that was when Swift Current ended up beating Prairie Storm and making it to the finals. But yeah, just in terms of Parker Rondeau, to run you through everything I've already said about him, this is a kid who put up 42 goals in the regular season, 49 in total, counting postseason, as he had 7 there. He's a creative player. His shot, even though it's not the hardest, like you said, and it definitely isn't, definitely something he'll be looking to strengthen, but it is accurate. You saw it there in that third clip with the goal he scored. You see how he gets creative using players as screens and being able to find a way to shoot around them like he did, being able to drag it in and shoot past that defenseman on the screen. As a skater, like I said, carries the puck with confidence. Good change of direction out there, good lateral movement, good edges. And he's also really good with the puck. He's a fast skater as well, obviously, but he's good at protecting the puck and good at getting the defenseman to bite and commit. And for Parker, when that does happen, he's usually able to find the weaknesses in the defenseman's positioning to expose him and make a nice move. Like when he did eliminate that defenseman in that first clip, shown with that highlight reel goal that he scored. But this is a kid, I think that WHL teams will be taking a look at him, and he's a kid who has a pretty good chance of getting drafted, especially after the type of playoffs that he had with this team, making it all the way to the finals. So yeah, that is going to do it for this edition of Player Breakdown, everybody. It's the return of this segment. Leave a like and a comment down below if you did enjoy it. And yeah, we'll potentially have another edition of Player Breakdown coming up next week on Monday night. And that is when the next edition of the Prospect Show will be airing next Monday night at 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time across our network. You can catch it on our website at amateursports.tv or at astdproductions.com. Type in one of those addresses and we'll take you to the same place. Also, be sure to check us out on our Facebook at ASTD Productions, on our YouTube at Amateur Sports TV, and on our Twitter as well at Amateur Sports TV to watch the next edition of the Prospect Show. Also, be sure to check out when the guest list will be released. It will be released next Monday morning before noon. It will be released before noon on our social media pages, on our Facebook, our Twitter, and on our Instagram as well at ASTD Productions. So before I go, folks, I just want to thank my guests once again for coming on tonight's edition of the show. Matt Gorman, owner of MCN Sports Advising, for talking about the 2022 Western Canada Hockey Exposure Camp. Of course, more coverage on the 2022 Western Canada Hockey Exposure Camp coming next week here on the Prospect Show. Also want to give another special thanks to Parker Rondeau, forward for the Swift Current Chem Broncos U15 AAA team, as well as the final guest on tonight's episode, as you did see, in Ayaan Vira, number 10, forward of the Okotoks Oilers U15 AAA team. I also want to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in to tonight's edition of the Prospect Show, and to our sponsors in not AETI, but Caisse Financial Group, Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy, TOVI Hockey, as well as Evolve Green, as their commercial was shown in this episode as well. Special thanks to our sponsors as always. But until next week on Wednesday night, folks, at 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time, when I'll see you guys then for another live installment of the Prospect Show. I've been your host of the Prospect Show, Graham Forsyth, giving you the salute, peacing out, and looking to see why I have so much indigestion right now. So we'll get that figured out. But until next Monday, when I will have my indigestion figured out, folks, have a wonderful rest of your Monday tonight. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend as well. Stay safe out there. I heard there's supposed to be a storm hitting Manitoba on Wednesday, so that's not fun. So if you are in Manitoba, stay away from the storm. There's going to be a lot of snow. But yeah, if it is nice where you guys are at, be sure to get outside as well. But with all that being said, the true thing is, until next Monday night, folks, at 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time, I'll see you then. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your night. Peace out.